Did you know that diabetes has become a bigger killer than HIV, TB, and malaria combined? That's a very scary statistic, but there are some things that you can do to prevent getting it in the first place. One of the more obvious changes would be to make better food choices, like including jungle oats in our diets. It contains beta-glucan, a fiber that assists in reducing bad blood cholesterol levels and is high in iron, fiber, and B vitamins. But what else can we do? Well, here to give us some answers is Bridget McNulty, editor of Sweet Life online community and a type 1 diabetic. Good morning, Bridget.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, diabetes, I mean, listening to those statistics, it is quite scary.
It is.
And there are so many different types out there. Can you talk us through a little bit more so we can just have a better understanding?
Sure. So there are three main types of diabetes: type 1, type 2, and gestational. Gestational occurs only in pregnancy, so we don't really focus on that too much. Type 2 is by far the biggest number of diabetics. 90% of diabetics are type 2s. And type 1, there are about 10% of them. And all diabetes is caused by your body not using insulin properly. So in someone without diabetes, like you, for example, when you eat something, your pancreas releases the perfect amount of insulin for whatever you've just eaten. In type 1 diabetes, my pancreas, for example, produces very little insulin or no insulin, so I have to give myself injections every time I eat. And in type 2 diabetes, either not enough insulin is produced or the insulin that is produced doesn't work properly. So in general, the treatment, if you catch it early enough, it can be lifestyle modifications, and after that it's insulin pills and then eventually insulin injections.
Is this now for type 2 diabetes?
Yes.
How can one, develop or get type 2 diabetes?
So what's tricky about type 2 is that there's a strong genetic component, but it's usually called a lifestyle disease because there are certain lifestyle factors that contribute to being able to get or having a higher risk of getting type 2. Those are being overweight, particularly fat around the middle for some reason that contributes to it. An unhealthy diet, lots of refined carbohydrates, junk food, fizzy drinks, cakes and sweets and all that stuff that's so bad for us. And not enough exercise, and smoking, and too much alcohol. So what's so interesting is that you look at lifestyle modifications for type 2 diabetes, and it's actually lifestyle modifications we should all be making. It's living a normal, healthy life.
And how much does, I feel like we're living in such a stressful environment. How big of a role does stress play in, someone's lifestyle and developing type 2 diabetes?
So, we all know how bad stress is for us. It's no surprise. What's interesting is that if you look at it from the hormone angle, that's what affects blood sugar. And I'm not a doctor, but I am a type 1 diabetic, and I've lived with the condition for over 10 years now. And what happens is that when you get stressed, the stress hormones are released, like cortisol. And the whole purpose of that was to give us, when we were living in the wild and running away from a lion, to give us this boost of energy so that we could run away. The trouble is that we're not doing any running, and we're living with the lion in the same room as us. And so that cortisol raises your blood sugar to give you the extra energy that we don't need because we're just constantly stressed. So it's dangerous.
But you did say it is, a lifestyle disease. And what are some of the things we can incorporate? Because by the sound of things, you can prevent most parts of type 2 diabetes.
So it depends on the genetic component.
Okay.
What we always say at Sweet Life, so we have an online community that offers information and support for people with diabetes in South Africa. And the one thing we say to everyone, to tell everyone they know, and I want you to tell everyone you know, is to get a blood sugar test. It's a 5-minute finger prick test. You can get it at your local pharmacy or clinic. And if there's any risk of you developing type 2 diabetes, you'll be able to tell straight away.
Okay.
And so the earlier you catch it, in general, the earlier you catch it, the more likely you are to be able to reverse it with a change in diet and starting to exercise and quitting smoking, not drinking too much. If it's later on, you will have to go on to medication, and it also depends entirely on the person. So diabetes is a very personal condition.
Okay.
But the diet plays a huge role because what you eat influences how much insulin your body releases and influences how that insulin is used. So it's the same, like there's no such thing as a diabetic diet.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we should all be eating.
Well, Bridget, thank you for sharing the insight.
Please.
One of the biggest problems with diabetes is the number of people who are undiagnosed. So if you haven't been tested yet, it's a good idea to go. And if you are in great health, it's a good also to know that through regular exercise and a balanced diet, being diagnosed with diabetes is manageable. South Africa's original oat champion now has a range of nutritious, delicious muesli.
New Jungle Muesli, available in an exciting variety of flavors.